started to draw in the main shapes from my photograph here. You can see I've just done a line across here, which is where my table is, and I'm paying really attention to follow the angles that I can see in my photograph so that I get the same kind of interesting angles, because I chose this photograph really carefully because I really liked the way the angles were falling and it wasn't just straight on, because sometimes when you take a photograph just straight on it can be a bit boring. So this has got some interesting angles and I'm making sure I'm getting those in, and I'm just doing it in lead pencil on top of the dried pinky reddy kind of background that I've done for my Matisse drawing. Bearing in mind that there's lots of kind of senses of depth in this painting. I've got a table in the foreground, and then I've got chairs in the midground, and then I've got a little bit further midground where I've actually got some the window and the window shutters, and then I've got in the deep background I've got the scene of the water, and then behind that there is the mountains and the sky. So just trying to work out where they sit in my drawing and just lightly putting in the outlines of those with my pencil. I want to make sure I've got some sky in there too. Because there's lots of glass and there's bits jutting out from the house in different angles, I've got bits of the veranda sticking out and the roof that I can see through the window. I've got to try and put those in as well. So lots of angles, just playing around with those angles and those lines to get them right. I seem to have those angles all wrong. That's okay, I can fix that. I'm not going to worry about rubbing it out, I'm just going to go back the right way. Quite dark as it goes behind there. I knew I'd hate drawing these louvers, but anyway, I committed to it, so I've got to do it now. Okay. So, the flowers are quite detailed, but I'm just going to do them kind of the outside shape of them, because really I'm going to paint them in. I'm not going to, and so I'm going to go over all of this drawing. I just want to work out where it is that they overlap. This other plant that's here. And there's some leaves coming off. So what I've got is a foreground, a midground and a background, and that's what you need to aim for. Even though all of these artists, to an extent, flattened their space somewhat, they still did deal with a sense of foreground, midground and background in their work that you need to try and ensure that you've emulated in your drawing, to give it a sense of depth and space. Because it's a view out of your window, you want to be able to see the distance and what's in the distance. But you know, you don't, as things go back in the distance, you're not trying to actually be able to put every little detail in. What you're trying to do is to be able to, as you go back, simplify things so they become more like shapes rather than actual detailed things. Whereas in the foreground down here is where we're going to see most of our details, because that's where the eye is closer and where the eye can see. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm making sure I'm remembering all those things that I've learnt in my drawing before, like the bases of my objects are never flat, they're always curved. And I'm ready to start painting.